Matthew.
Hey Gary, Matt Lamarche here in Atlanta, Georgia. Hope you're doing well. I had a quick question about self-awareness. Do you think it's more about maturity and wisdom, or is it something that you're just built with? Thanks so much for taking the time. Have a great day.
That's a good question.
So I've been talking a lot about self-awareness.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to take the floor first. Maybe you haven't had as much time to ponder this world. What's your take on self-awareness? Do you feel like you have it? Do you feel like it grew? Is it, for example, I believe it is the ultimate power. Mm-hmm. Once you have that, boy, can you start navigating. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling because so many people have really caught attention to this and are asking me to help them figure out how to gain more of it. And I'm like, Jesus, this is, there's certain places where your skill set stops. Mine stops at, how am I gonna, I don't know. Boy, do I know the people that I know that have it are winning. And not just financially or exposure, like they're just in a happy place because of that self-awareness. What is your thought on self-awareness?
Yeah, I think it's a skill like any other.
So you do think it's something that can be developed?
Some people might have natural capacity for it, but however they were raised, like any other skill, It's like
in the world.
Some people are good at basketball, and some people have to work very hard to be good at basketball. Yeah. But it's.
Do you think one caps out though? In the basketball analogy, Dunk is a nice looking athlete, but he's never going to be an NBA player. Right. He has a ceiling of his basketball skills. So, do you think people have a ceiling?
I don't know if people have a ceiling. I don't know if people have a ceiling, but I think self-awareness is a skill, a practicable, learnable skill, and I think the one of the big things about self-awareness is we don't really know how we're being perceived. We think we know how we're being perceived, and sometimes we act in a way, when we act all pompous because we want to appear strong, but really we appear weak. And
that's right.
We're not always
which is a common
aware,
one, by the way.
Which is right. And so I think the big thing about learning to be self-aware is being open to the feedback from people who love you and care about you, who are willing to say to you, when you said that, you looked and sounded like an ass.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny.
And to be open to that kind of harsh, but from a good place critique is the only way to learn how you come across.
It's funny you said that. I think the closest I've ever gotten to answer this is that, and then actually putting that inner circle in a safe place to tell you the truth.
Exactly right.
Because those same people are scared they love you.
And if you're defensive the whole time, then
game over.
Then you are not learning self-awareness.
I would tell you that my reading of comments over the last decade on social, and taking each with a grain of salt. Your biggest fans, you can only let your ego go so far, and you're aware that some people troll for the sake of getting reactions from the community, things of that nature. But the net, the millions in a net composite score has definitely been, I would always say that listening has done a lot more for me, even though I love to talk and always talk. That consumption pattern it has been a very big deal for me.
So there's a wonderful story about listening.
Okay.
The problem when people say you need to be a better listener is we are human beings and we need to communicate, and communication is two ways, listening and speaking. But everybody's like, you got to be a better listener. But here's the best understanding I have of that. So Nelson Mandela is universally regarded as a great leader, which is important because different people are viewed differently in different nations. But Nelson Mandela, universally regarded as a great leader, right? He was actually the son of a tribal chief, and he was asked in an interview once, "How did you learn to be a great leader?" And he tells the story of how he would go to tribal meetings with his father, and he remembers two things. They always sat in a circle, and his father was always the last to speak. And in terms of leadership and listening, I think the idea of be a better listener is actually half the advice. I think the advice is practice being the last to speak. You see this all the time in meetings where everybody will sit around a room, the senior guy will be like, all right, here's the problem, here's what I think we should do, but I'm really interested in what your thoughts are.
Yes.
Let's go around the room. It's too late. You've influenced the room.
You've created the framework.
People bend and mold, as opposed to saying, here's the problem, I'm interested in what you have to say, without saying anything. And not even, and having this, and this takes practice, not even giving a hint whether you agree or disagree. If anything, you ask questions to learn more, you get the benefit of hearing everybody's opinion, everybody gets to feel heard, and then you get to render your opinion.
So I would tell you, and this is for people that are running businesses, that is a micro example of the way, and I think makes a ton of sense. I would tell you, Andy, you obviously direct report to me, you run our team. I think people would be stunned by how little we talk at all. Like the level of the level of micromanagement I put on, like my version of that is actually letting people do their thing and watching it from speaking last. I guess my punchline is by the time I get into the meeting where we're like, here's the problem, the amount of listening that has been done, because I've created such a white canvas for the leaders to do their thing, and I can watch it and contextualize what they're doing, is the macro version. Because once you're in that meeting room, that's basically the final pitch of what's been going on over that period of time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I believe in that quite a bit. Okay, good. I mean, I think, I on the other hand do think that all skills have a max out. At some level, your hardwiring,
But
limits.
so you can't continue to grow till the day you die?
No, I think that's the black and white version of that.
Yeah.
I think that you can continue to make incremental steps, but I think that there are people.
So there's a diminishing returns kind of thing.
Absolutely, I believe that because I believe some people are just delirious in this chase that they're going to be at this upside of any skill.
Yeah,
and
I think that's interesting.
people lose practicality at some level.
And the question is where is everybody? If here is the max out,
right,
or the diminishing returns.
That's right.
The question is
did you stop
does
here?
Does anybody
Yes.
even get here? I mean,
Yeah.
I think most people are still in here.
And which is why I'm always very careful to not play too much to the negative, because I don't want somebody to stop here.
Yeah.
But at the same token, in a world where there's a lot of voices and everybody can do everything, we need to level some level of practicality.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, thank you.